Hello and welcome to another episode of Ways to Better Living. As always, this is your host, Coolio, bringing you the concluding part of news outlets. This is the part 2 to conclude from where we left off on the last episode. And before I left on the last episode, I asked you a question as a way of letting you think and give you a bit of a clue so you could be able to see and put into perspective as to mainly you that watch news, not just read. I will go to the reading aspect also, but if you're just watching it, you hear so many stories, and especially when they show you clips of these, you also see that it's, in a way, you can already tell where I'm heading with this. So, with going back to what we were discussing of what they show you or what they say in the news as to you taking it as to be that is the truth. Remember one thing: if you go to a liar for advice, what advice would they give you? And why would you go to a liar for advice? Now, the reason why I ask that is, think of yourself. Everyone says there's no one perfect, so which means you that saying that, you know you do lie. Whether you say you tell truth all the time, you once in a while, you call it white lie. So, with that said, if you know you're capable of lying, then why do you go to someone that you know is just like you, capable of lying, for you to get truth from that person? Would you actually find the truth? And also think about this: you that don't pay attention to all those news, but you hear news from word of mouth. You know, word of mouth always taking away and adding. It's not just taking away, they add also. So if you know that, which means what they add in is them making it their own, as letting you know that's the truth, in a form of emphasizing what they hear, and they take it that it's the truth. So now when they come tell you, they're making it like, yes, this is the truth, the absolute truth. You can't deny that. So if you see that, then the question arises: how would I know what's the truth? For those of you in your local vicinity, you watch news channel, things that they put sometimes on the news in your neighborhood, and a lot of people, you go outside, you see, you mingle, but you didn't hear these things. But all of a sudden, they got it on the news. It makes you think, where was I at that these things going on? Am I that unaware of my own surrounding that I don't know what's going on, but these people that don't even live there knows what's going on. This question comes up. Why? Because these are the things they put on the news for you, especially most times things that go bad in the neighborhood that you live. Plus, is there such a bad neighborhood or such a good neighborhood? That's another question you need to ask. Where would you say this is a bad neighborhood? Where would you say this is a good neighborhood? What would you classify as a bad neighborhood? What do you classify as a good neighborhood? Because for a neighborhood to be classified as to be good, there should be no stealing going on, no fighting each other in any way, which you know that's going to be, even if there's no stealing, that fighting going to be going on, which is going to make it a bad neighborhood instantly, because that's something you consider to be bad. So where would you go live that you will not find these things that you consider bad if it's just you and someone else that's having that issue? But in your neighborhood, you consider it good, even if that's going on. These are things that you have to pay attention to. Why am I saying all this? Well, these are things that your neighborhood is the world. In a grand scale. Think of it, you all in a pond. So, some fishes do not swim everywhere in the sea. So, their surrounding, they are aware of it. You also have to be aware of your surroundings. And to be aware of your surroundings, you don't got to sit inside and watch that little box to tell you what's going on outside in your neighborhood. So how do you know what goes on? You go outside, interact with people. You see what goes on that way. That no one can come tell you, oh, this going on in your neighborhood, when you live in your neighborhood and don't even see that going on. So, which means you don't see it in your neighborhood, but other people that's not on your neighborhood telling you that's going on in your neighborhood, and you take that to be true when you don't see it. But yet still, these things that they show you, supposedly a big deal, but you don't see it. So what does that say? Now you start doubting your own damn self. Why? Because you're thinking you're the one with the issue because you don't see it. So now you start questioning yourself instead of the one that's feeding you the lie about what you don't see. So with that said, how do you know where to pay attention to get news that, if you look at my caption, says worthy to know? One place I always direct people to go, and you carry it with you anywhere you go, that is your heart, which what it gives you as the news that goes on can never be not the truth. So, looking at everything, now let's forget about the television. Let's touch base now on the ones that you read, whether on newspaper or newspaper blog or whatever it is online. But you, instead of watching it, you're reading it. How do you know the information is true? Because one thing you have to realize also, whether it's on paper or on screen, it's entertainment. So, if it's entertainment, how do you know which is truth or which isn't? You have to look at these things yourself intensely. A lot of you that go on YouTube and look for people that tell you the truth about what's going on and all this, you've seen other things that you hear afterwards that these people were lying and blah blah blah. So how do you know now that the ones that got the money to be able to manipulate you more than the ones that don't have the money, that already manipulates your mind that much, you're going to believe the one with the money? What is money there to do? To make sure whatever lie is told, you can believe, because the money can make the things look as to be the truth. So you have to be careful, and the information you take and believe to be the truth, rather than sit back and look at the information you're seeing with your own eyes, you're hearing with your own ears. So if you read the news, also, how do you know? Pay attention to the very words that they use in that sentence. If the best way to do it, because some people think they know words because they can speak the language, but pick up the dictionary, check the meaning of the words. Sometimes the one word have more than one meaning, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the one that you might be thinking, that's what is intended in that sentence that you read. Depending on the context of what word follow after that, you got the true meaning of what is told. So in that case, what do? You pay attention. That is the advice I'll give. Pay attention. Why? Because what you take to believe as the truth can benefit you, and the worst case scenario, because it can only go two ways, either be good for you or not be good. So which one do you take? How do you believe what you hear or what you read or what you see? That is where your heart comes to play. Pay attention. Listen to your heart. Because everyone says, oh, you follow your heart, you don't go wrong. But do that person that tells you to follow your heart follow theirs? Because you can see the way they do things and the things that they listen to as well. So, listen to your heart. Follow it. And you will never get the wrong information. So with that said, I'll conclude here today with this topic of news outlets. The question is, which one do you trust? So this is all the time I have for you today. In concluding this topic of news outlet, part 2. As always, this is your host, Coolio, saying God bless you all and have a wonderful time.